Alrighty, we're back live here again on the Charge, giving you the latest NBA news and rumors and also basketball opinions. Guys, we just finished our story on Scotty Barnes, so let us know in that video what you guys thought about that. Now we're going to move on to the Charlotte Hornets, Pete. I think we have been continuously impressed with the way that the Hornets kind of played this season. And now we officially have breaking news from the Hornets organization. And before we talk about that, guys, please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. Remember, the more likes and the more subscribers, the more that this channel can grow and develop and be something that we want this channel to be. A place where NBA fans and people of sports backgrounds would just love to talk sports can be on this channel, can go through the videos, whether it's football, basketball, soccer, WWE, no matter what sports that we cover, we are going to start covering that relatively once we do a little bit of a rebrand and once we get to 1,000 subscribers, we're going to start doing a little bit of more maintenance and upkeeping, at least from my end. And so let us know in the comment section down below. What do you guys think about that? Enough of the self-advertising. Let's get to the story, Pete. Charlotte Hornets fired James Borrego after 4 seasons as head coach. So Charlotte Hornets head coach Borrego has been fired. The team announced Friday. This comes after the Hornets were blown out in each of their playing games this postseason. They want to thank him for his hard work. Obviously the spiel, yada, yada, yada. Beyond the work as a coach, he's a tremendous person. I wish him and his family the best in the future. These decisions are always difficult. Having that said, we have a talented young core of players, which has me very excited the future of the Hornets. We will begin the search for our head coach immediately. All right, Pete, I need your opinion on this. Should James Borrego have been fired from the Hornets?
I think this is a terrible choice. I think if anything, this is the beginning of rebuild part 2 for them. Like, you had a coach that came in and changed the culture of terrible, terrible organization. Like, Charlotte, from Bobcats to Hornets, have been a joke in the NBA for the last 20 years,
Yeah.
right? But specifically the last 10 years, like leading up to Borrego's tenure with this team, they were downright terrible. Just not fun to watch, no good players, nothing good going for this team. And then they hire Borrego, and things start to turn around. Season by season, it seems like they're getting a little bit better. The culture's getting better. The players on the team are getting better. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
actual development happening from their draft picks, which know Michael Jordan. We know the way he drafts or likes the players that he likes.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't usually happen with the squads in Charlotte when
Yeah.
he's the owner, decision maker. So I think told you a lot about what James Borrego is bringing to the table for these guys. And, you saw the development from guys like Miles Bridges. You saw the development from guys like, uh, PJ Washington. LaMelo is getting a little bit better.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, I don't know. There's the stories a few weeks ago, and we texted about this right after they announced that Borrego had been fired. But there's rumors going around that the Hornets want Westbrook, right? We
Yeah.
know Jordan loves Westbrook. We know Jordan has Westbrook signed to his brand. He's been on it. I
Yeah.
think he's got does he have a lifetime deal or a 10-year deal? What
I
was it?
think
It
I
was
think it was a
huge.
I think it was a 10-year deal. I don't think they're gonna offer him lifetime.
Yeah,
Maybe
I
they
don't think
would,
so. I don't
but
think he was
you
good.
never know.
It probably feels like a lifetime now, right? 10 years with
Yeah.
him. Um, there's all these stories coming out about that. You have to think like Borrego seems like a really smart coach, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
comes from the San Antonio system, learned from
Yep.
Pop.
Yep.
I'm more curious if he was pushing back against some of that type of stuff, right? Maybe not in line with what Jordan's vision of this team is, right?
Mm-hmm.
And if anything about those rumors were true, I would say there was probably some tension in the building. Like
Yeah.
there's not a middle ground for that argument of wanting Westbrook in the year 2022. You're either all in or all out.
Yeah.
And I could very seriously, and I don't think it's a huge leap to imagine James Borrego probably not enjoying that choice and Jordan being the one who's pushing for it.
Mm-hmm.
So it's tough. And the only other thing too I would say is like this team wasn't even at full strength. Like you're gonna fire this dude for losing in the play-in game, and they didn't even have Gordon Hayward. They needed Gordon Hayward. Like, and
Yeah.
I know that's unfortunate. They picked him. They picked Gordon Hayward
Yeah.
full well knowing that this is the guy you're getting. He's injury prone. And not having him, this team didn't play nearly as well without Gordon Hayward. Like, for whatever you think, and I know you in particular as a Celtics fan have thoughts on Gordon Hayward, he has been much better the last 2 seasons than he was with
Yeah.
Boston. And he fits the role on that team super well that he was given. And not having him is a big loss to this team. So fire a dude saying that, your team underperformed, but you're also
Yo,
missing
what
your
is up,
highest
guys?
paid player, I think it's a little bit backwards. Like, I don't really understand the logic of that. He still got them to the play-in game, missing arguably right now their best player
Yeah.
most of this season. So I don't know, man. This team, like I said at the beginning, this feels like rebuild 2.0. I actually would go so far as to say this is such a bad choice. And I could see this team kind of imploding on itself next season and having like a come back down to Charlotte Earth. Like, we just had a winning 43-39 season, and now we're 33 wins again. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna try to do the math of what those losses would be. You know
Hmm.
me. But
Yeah.
yeah, this team is something else, man. Like, one step forward, 2 steps back. That's the definition of Charlotte to me.
Yeah, I think what's unfortunate about this Hornets team, I think they should have given Borrego another year and see what would happen with him as kind of now he has these young guys that are now growing up and developing. Like again, like LaMelo Ball was brought on, I would say very not lightly, but he was brought on slowly. And the reason for that was, they just didn't want to rush him and anything like that. And you could clearly see that it worked. I mean, we're now seeing LaMelo Ball like is starting in the lineup all the time and was kind of the star player that I thought he would be for this team. And then you got Miles Bridges, who came out of nowhere and became like this player that everyone was like, "Dang, okay, this guy can hoop." I'm not sure about his rapping skills. I'll leave that up to the critics
Mhm.
that know rap a little bit better than I do in terms of uh, critiquing it. I'll stick to basketball. But I think another thing too with this team that it was such a young team. I mean, think about their star players. Miles Bridges is only 24. LaMelo Ball 20. James Bouknight, who didn't really play that much, is 21. I mean, these are young players that are growing up and molding into becoming the team that they want them to be. Again, I think LaMelo Ball still has a lot more room to grow than I think a lot of people realize. And so that's why I'm excited about his future going into the next couple of seasons because I think that he can develop that grow man body that Lonzo Ball got this year with the Chicago Bulls. Like you saw the insane growth and improvement. Unfortunately, he got hurt, so we won't be seeing him in the playoffs, which might be another story for another time. My whole thing about this is that I think the Hornets did it a year or two early, right? We talk about guys like Brett Brown who got the longest, I would say, leash out of all the coaches, right? When he was coaching that 76ers team where they was trust the process all the way until they finally got good. I think they held on to him way too long. And there's a right time and a wrong time to be like, okay, Brett Brown, we have to let you go now. And I just felt like this was not the time to let Borrego go. I think Borrego's a great coach. You can clearly see he knows his X and O's. You can clearly see that he's developed these guys, like whether it's him or whether it's these guys themselves. Like he has a key part in developing these young guys. Has a plan for them. I mean, there's a reason why Miles Bridges is. A lot of teams are gonna maybe pay the max,
They're gonna pay him a lot. Yeah,
and,
he's gonna
and
get big offers.
and so for me, when I see that, I think, in my opinion, when it comes down to is I the Hornets, they're always going to be to me a poverty franchise until Michael Jordan gives the reins of GM to someone else. Because I think he's
Yep.
making all the decisions. I mean, we talk about all of his draft picks from the years past. Gid Gilchrist, Bismack Biyombo, uh,
Mhm.
Adam Morrison. I mean, there's a lot of the list goes on and on and on. And there were so many players that they could have taken in these last couple of drafts. They didn't take them. And you can clearly see that the Hornets need to do a much better job of building a team around LaMelo Ball. They didn't miss on LaMelo. And I think it's hard to miss on him. You have LaMelo. Now build the rest of your roster around LaMelo Ball. What players does LaMelo Ball need to be successful? And that's the question that I think Michael Jordan and the rest of that staff in the Charlotte Hornets organization and whatever coach they get needs to figure out quickly so they can figure out what they're going to do for next season.
Yep. In the words of the great Jalen Rose. Okay, this is a quote I live by. All right, this is for you, Bernie, and this is for everybody in the chat. All right. the non-live chat. Happiness is a function of realistic expectations. Did Jalen Rose make that up? I have no idea, but I love that quote. I live by that quote. All right. This is one of those situations that screams of completely wildly wrong expectations for what your team is. You
Hmm.
know, if you are Charlotte, if you are the Charlotte Hornets and you leave this season 43-39, inning streak of 3 wins to make it to the playoffs, have the same record as Atlanta, who almost made it to the Eastern Conference Finals last year.
Hmm.
You have to be happy with that in the NBA the way it is. You have no top 15 star in the league on this squad, and you still left the season 4 up on the win column, right? Screams, like you said, of Michael Jordan having expectations that are completely unrealistic for what the NBA is right now. You have no top end talent. You have none. And that is not to say LaMelo or Miles Bridges are not going to be. They're not yet. They're not. Like LaMelo is not there yet. He's great for how old he is. He's 20. But he's not LeBron. I mean, there's no other LeBron. There's hardly ever been any 20-year-olds who can lead a team like this and go far in the playoffs. But you have to be happy with a winning season. Yikes, man. This was really bad. And I think there's one of these every season where we see one of these hiring or firings where it's like, what were they thinking,
Hmm.
The only explanation, the only rationale that will make any sense of this is if they hire I don't even know who it would be. It's such a long shot. What coach could they even bring in that's a better option for them right now, right? Like some veteran old winning coach. Like there's nobody like that that's available. So this was a huge L, man. This was a almost like I wish I had four hands so I give this 4 thumbs down type situation.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, I think for what we're noticing here from the Charlotte Hornets, like this was just a missed opportunity for them. I think that Borrego is a great coach, and I hope that he does get picked up on a roster somewhere. And I think coaches aren't really given enough time. We give players a lot of time. We give players a lot of attention, or attention, I should attention. There we go. And we don't really give coaches that time to develop and grow their system around the players that they want. And then we're kind of just immediately going off with their head immediately.
Yeah,
And I just think that that's kind of the way that the NBA world works. It's always the coach's fault. It's never the player's fault. And of course, I'm not saying the coaches can never be wrong or the coaches can't be, the reason why they're not winning. But to say that that's the 100% reason why they're not winning or why they got blown out in those 2 games, I think that's not true. I mean, we're seeing that right now with the Utah Jazz in their series. They won today by 1 point. They were lucky to win that game, in my opinion. Their perimeter defense is horrible, and that's the reason
it's
why they lost.
atrocious.
That's the reason why they lost in game number 3, because their perimeter defense was allowing Rudy Gobert to now overhelp, and then now the guy that he's guarding now gets an open look. They may take a shot that causes another person to rotate over, and then boom, you get the shots to Finney Smith, you get the shots to Brunson, you get the shots to Kaliber. I mean, and I know this isn't a Utah Jazz talk, but for me, like what I really get frustrated with when it comes to all this is that let players take accountability for why they're not playing very well. And again, the coaches could be 100% right. The rotations were wrong, the sets were wrong. We didn't adjust properly to these things that we're seeing out here on the court. And that to me is what I'm noticing here when it comes to Borrego is that they should have let him have another year. See if he can develop those guys to be defensively better. I mean, we can clearly see that they're not this season, and I just think that they needed another year to see what they could do in the future. But yeah, I would say that I would be frustrated if I'm a Hornets fan and knowing that my team is not doing all they can to win games.
Think there's any chance that Borrego goes back to San Antonio and is like the heir apparent for Pop now that Becky Hammond's gone?
I could see him going back. I think at least going back to the staff, and being an assistant coach. I just think that there's a lot of politics that you have to play as a head coach, unless you're Popovich, unless you've been there for a very long time, And there are
I mean, it is.
there's very few coaches that are like that right now. I think Steve
Yeah.
Kerr is the only one besides Pop. I mean, Pop I think is on his way out, but like Steve Kerr is the only one that I feel like has that sort of not gonna fire him because Steph Curry and Klay Thompson aren't playing very well.
Yeah, I mean, it's a popularity contest when it comes down to it. Like, it
Yeah,
really is. Like, the coaching spot is one of those ones where, like, are you popular with the players? Are you popular with your contemporaries, your peers, right? Dude, I don't know, man. This was a really bad one. I'll be actually really surprised to see not only who they bring in because I just don't think there's a lot of great options available. And I
mm,
think with some of the other places that have openings where
yeah,
pay is going to be a lot different, the talent level immediately coming in is going to be a lot different. I don't think those top end coaches are even going to be considering Charlotte. So, because the last thing I'll say too is coaching is weird. Like there's some similarities to like if you're hiring a young coach, it is very similar to like let me rephrase that. If you're hiring a first-time head coach in the NBA, it's not that different than drafting a player like
yeah,
in the first round or whatever, right? Like you are taking this person with the expectation and the understanding, or you should be, that they have room to grow and learn and become a better coach.
yeah,
And it seems like they did everything right until they just all of a sudden chose, nah, we don't want to wait anymore. But
yeah,
now you have to restart that process over again. Now you have to draft a new coach, probably. And now you have to get that level of understanding between the players and what the coach expects and all this, that, and the third. You know what this is so similar to me, or what I would compare this to, Bernie? This is
was it?
so similar to the Pacers last season.
Yeah,
Or was it 2 seasons ago? Firing Nate McMillan after a decent season, and then they go find this coach in what was his name, Bjorkgren, Nate Bjorkgren or whatever.
yeah,
It was just a dumpster fire, right? Because having a winning record and not being a championship team when you should have known you weren't a championship team, as now you've pushed yourself, you've pushed all your chips into saying, we think we're better than this guy. And you should have known you weren't, right? It's
yeah,
like the other guy is showing you he's got a straight or royal flush or whatever, and you still choose to say, nah, you know what? I think we can beat you anyway. What are you
yeah,
talking about? You really think you were better than even Atlanta, who you lost to? Like they have Trey Young. He's better than any of your players right now. He's also been in the league longer than Lonzo or LaMelo, excuse me. Uh, Yeah, man, this is something else. I only wish the best for Borrego, and honestly, I wish the best for a lot of the Hornets players, man. I feel bad for those guys. Whether or not they are fine or happy with this choice or whatever, I don't think there's any way they improve their coaching situation next season after this.
What about Mark Jackson? Could you see Mark Jackson? Because there's rumors of him
Like,
going to San Francisco or Sacramento's been interviewing him. Could you see him
I,
going to the Hornets?
I mean, dude, he hasn't had a head coaching job in 10 years. Like, we just going to pretend, like, why? He's in every year there's a discussion about this guy. Why hasn't he been hired before? It's not like he's not even like Doc Rivers. Like Doc Rivers
Mm-hmm.
won a championship. Whether or not you think that how much of that was him, Mark Jackson, the best thing he ever did was lead the We Believe Warriors. Wasn't it the We Believe Warriors where they were like, surprising people, making it in the early rounds of the playoffs? I don't even know if
Yeah.
he made it that far. I don't know, man. I think that is a downright terrible hiring.
Oh, okay.
But what are they going to do though? What are they
Yeah.
going to do? There's not really anybody else. Like I would argue like let's say Philly gets bounced next round and they just decide, all right, we're done with Doc. I hate to bring Doc up again. Like maybe, but there's nobody that's going to be available. Quinn Snyder's not going there. Maybe Vogel. Maybe. That would be
Mm-hmm.
maybe somebody I would consider, right? Because your defense is really not very good and he's a defensive minded coach. Um, and we've seen him work really well with some like fringe players like Caruso when Caruso was young, like just coming up with the Lakers. So maybe Vogel, but dude, I wouldn't want to take that job. I wouldn't want to take that job, especially imagine the irony of they hire Vogel and then they trade for Westbrook. Like that would be the funniest thing of all time. Like
Yeah.
that would be the greatest story in the history of basketball. But man, this team is. I think they're going to be worse next season. Do you think they're going to be worse or better?
I think
Just
that they're
like a gut check.
They need a trade for some veteran player. Like if they get another rookie from this draft, that isn't like has a role in terms of like a 3-point shooter or anything like that. I think that that's the only reason I could see them like potentially being screwed. Um, I think that they really need to start getting older. They need more veteran experience. I made this video a little bit earlier, um, and I just think that what they really need is more playoff and veteran leadership. And once they get that, and I know that Gordon Hayward was supposed to be that, but um, I still think that they're missing like a guy, and whether or not that's Hayward or someone else, they need to figure that out quickly, because their time is coming up relatively soon. So I hope they
Yeah,
can
they need
find
a big
somebody.
drastically.
Yeah, so we'll see what happens there. But let us know in the comment section down below, everybody. What do you guys make of James Borrego getting fired as the head coach? Do you guys agree with that? Do you disagree with that? And if you're Hornets fans or any Hornets fans that are out there, what is your take on your Hornets coming into next year? Are you excited about what you're seeing, or are you concerned because of the firing of James Borrego? Let us know in the comment section down below. And guys, remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe button if you're new to the channel. It helps the channel grow out tremendously, and it helps Pete and I know what you guys want us to talk about for the future, and really get interested in talking about NBA news and rumors and basketball opinions, as well as other sports that we will be trying to provide a little bit later at a later date, and we'll let you guys know when that will be in an announcement video at some point. So like I said, let me know in the comment section down below. But anyway, guys, that is going to be it for the video. Please remember to hit that like, share, and subscribe, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace out, everybody.